But what I want to talk to you about tonight, because last week my talk was about education. How many here have a Twitter account? Come on, I know some of y'all, come on, hands up, hands up. Okay, look around the room. It's less than half the room will say they have a Twitter account, and we need your handles before the night's out.
You need my what?
Handles. Matter of fact, we should pass around a sheet so everyone who wants to share their Twitter handle can do so.
Oh.
Okay, we're going to have a little bit, some people know I'm known for a little bit going off the reservation. We're going to try a little experiment at the very end of the presentation. So my name is Michael Lambert. I'm a former Deputy Comptroller in the Office of New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. I have worked in economic development. I've worked in healthcare administration. I've lived in this neighborhood for 50 years. That's my oldest son behind the camera. My wife is over there with the other camera, and my youngest son is the one actually on the clicker. For those of you that did follow me on social media and saw me going very hard for Melinda Katz against Tiffany Caban, it's because of that family right there. Because when I moved here, this neighborhood was not the same. Interestingly enough, it was a mixed neighborhood, but we still had like shady stuff going on. I remember cops literally run through the backyard telling us to stay inside the house because they were chasing a perp. So we've come a long way from that because I can't tell you the last time I've seen that happen. But I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, but we have seen an uptick in shootings, right? What we need to do is to learn and understand the best way to educate ourselves. And I'm going to just run through pretty much, it's a little bit of a boring slide presentation, but I know some of the folks in this room, especially thank you for those who came out, who I invited, who I know are active on social media, because this is the best way to fight back. Because this is the battlefield that they're using, okay? So basically, if you look at the first slide, you'll see it's getting from that little tweet to an amplified tweet. That's how Twitter works. It's like you basically tell everybody in this room, and if the information stays here, we got about 40 people in the room, the information stays with 40 people. But if each of you go out there and tell 10 people, now we got 400 people. If they 10 additional people, we've got 4,000 people. That's how Twitter works. That's how the young, liberal, progressive left, many of privilege, many not raised here, are getting their message out, and they actually communicate to each other. And I'm going to show you an example of that happened tonight as I was on the way here. Okay, next slide. So I'm going to give you a very brief social media history. Next slide. So if you look at the timeline for social media, who remembers MySpace? You're showing your age. 2003, MySpace comes out. 2004, Facebook comes out. My wife gets on Facebook, I make fun of her. Why would you do this? It's for the kids. All my old high school friends start going on Facebook. Guess what I do? They're making fun of me because I jumped on there and I reconnected with people I had not seen in over 2 decades. People who we grab lunch, we talk to this day, all because of Facebook. And I don't have the numbers for Facebook, but just know that Facebook's numbers dwarf Twitter's numbers. That's a very important point. But the thing with Facebook is Facebook was actually started for college students at the same campus to communicate, and it graduated into a platform where mostly friends would be able to contact with friends and family. Okay, that's very important to remember that. 2006, Twitter's created. Guy was trying to create a text messaging app to keep like small text circles, and it turned into something he had no idea it was going to be. Then we got Tumblr. Then we got Grindr. I'm not going to comment on Grindr. Then we got 2010 Instagram. How many people here have an Instagram account? Okay, so if you look at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those are probably 3 of the most popular platforms right now, even though Snapchat now, for the younger generation, is trying to find its place. Instagram is a very visual platform. Someone pointed out to me that the reason that a lot of young people like Instagram is because a lot of younger people are raised in a visual age, play a lot of video games. They're not reading as much. That's why memes is mostly image with a little bit of words, but it captures your attention right then and there. It's a very powerful tool. Then we got Snapchat. You tell your little story, but then your story goes away unless you save it. Designed to kind of, I guess, keep people from, putting things out there they didn't want the world to see forever. See, we didn't have that when we were my age, so all the millennials need to be mindful of things they write on social media because it's being written in indelible ink. How many times does somebody come back, like there was a baseball player, and when he was a kid, he had racist tweets. I get some big contract or win some award, and all of a sudden, all the racist tweets start coming out all of a sudden. Been sitting there dormant for 10, 15 years, but now all of a sudden, front page news, guy loses his deal, bad things happen. okay? And then we got Tinder. Tinder's kind of like the Grindr thing. So I'm not going to ask anybody here if they got a Tinder or a Grindr account. We're going to leave that one alone. Next slide. But what's Twitter? Twitter is a modern public square where many voices discuss, debate, and share their views. And you got to ask yourself, who's using Twitter and why? So Twitter's kind of like you walk into a bar, a very crowded bar with people you don't know. You can talk to the people that you know, or if you're a social butterfly, you can branch out and talk to everybody in the bar. Okay? Who's using Twitter? Media personalities, politicians, very important, and the public. Secondly, very important, turn to social networks for real-time information and reaction to the day's events. Real-time information. When I first started Twitter, I had an account. I was just following people. I thought that's what you did. Didn't really read anything. When I saw the importance of Twitter was when Michael Jackson died. I was at a conference down in D.C., and it was actually like the networking reception after the day's workshops were over. About 600 people in the room. I'm standing on this end, all of a sudden a grumble starts to travel around the room, starting on the left-hand side and the back, travel, like when you do the wave at the football game, that's what it was like. And when it got to me, I found out it was because everybody had been bless you, everybody had been checking their Twitter feeds and telling somebody else to check Twitter. And that's when I realized the real power of Twitter. Because what was happening, people were tuned in to where the news is coming from. Many times, I'm getting news 3-4 days ahead of when you see it on Channel 7. But you have to know who to get your information from. This is a very important thing, right? Why are so many people using Twitter? Congressman Jose Serrano up in the Bronx. I used to work up in the Bronx as a Dominican heritage celebration. And Congressmember Serrano, another clarifying point for me. He said he liked Twitter because he got to talk to his audience with no filter. He wasn't going through a report. It was going to spit his words. He wrote his words down. Boom, he sent it out. Anybody on Twitter saw it. Okay? We have somebody else lately who's reaching all their audience by Twitter. Millions of people at a time. I'm not going to call that name. We all know who that is, though. Changing the direction of the stock market with a tweet. Changing the direction of a news cycle with a tweet. Quite often, a tweet that's not even accurate. Think about that for a second. This man tells a lie, and people lose millions of dollars. And no one says, hey, stop that, that's wrong. So you're getting split-second, real-time information with a click on your phone or a click of your mouse pad. And the thing with Twitter, right now, it protects anonymity. They have what they call troll accounts. Everybody remembers when Trump ran for office, they kept saying, yeah, the Russian trolls were out there, and they had people riled up. They were creating fake Black Lives Matter accounts and actually causing people to go at people like people in this room would infight because of something that some fake Russian bot put on Twitter. That's a pretty powerful tool when you think about it, especially if it's not being used correctly or properly. The other thing is it's an incredibly powerful marketing tool. Next slide. I'm just going to go through some stats and we're going to have a little bit of a conversation. Twitter has 145 million monetizable daily active users. That's not how many people are using on a daily basis. Those are the people who are paying for ad buys or turning Twitter into a way to make money. There's more than double that's actually on the platform any given day. Okay? 92% of the United States population is familiar with Twitter. Who here had never heard about Twitter before I started talking tonight? Anybody? Never heard of Twitter. But more than half of y'all don't have a Twitter account. Twitter's most prolific 10% of users are likely to be women who tweet about politics. Some of y'all in this room know exactly what I'm talking about. 80% of the United States tweets come from 10% of Twitter users. The majority of tweets come from a small audience. So, well, yeah, it's him too, yeah. You monopolize the space. Yeah, the most active users have 20 times as many followers than the average person. And with the way that Twitter works, you join Twitter, you follow people, you hope they follow you back. If you really care about what they have to say, you'll follow them back. If not, you ignore them. 22% of adults in the United States use Twitter. Now, this is what's really important here. 44% of United States 18 to 24-year-olds use Twitter, AKA Oh man, that's actually supposed to be, yeah, Gen Z. Anybody know what a Gen Z is? Anyone know what a Zoomer is? Post-millennial. Keep that in mind. My youngest son, he's a Zoomer. We have that joke in the house. I'm a baby boomer by 10 days. And one thing you'll see the progressive left that they like to do, okay, boomer, like that's going to insult me. Y'all don't know me. If you think that's going to be my insult, and my Twitter handle now in calls, that's AKA Mr. Boomer to you. That's who I am, right? Next slide. US-based Twitter users are younger, have more education, which the council member just said, and more income than the general United States population. I want to focus on Western Queens and waterfront Brooklyn right now. Some of the most expensive real estate in New York City outside of Manhattan. Ask yourself, when you see that the people that live in there are the Zoomers and the millennials, how can you afford to live in these zip codes in waterfront condos at the age of 25 or the age of 35? Because they're not from here, and a lot of them came here with money. Okay? I think I got some duplication here. Derek, you failed me. American Twitter users are more likely to be Democrats than the average American. So Democrats that are on Twitter are getting a lot of the information on Twitter. Skip down to the next slide. Supposed to cut that out. The most active Twitter users, we talked about that, 12% of Americans get their news from Twitter. That's what I said. A lot of things I see on it. My wife say, hey, how'd you hear about that? Twitter. Because I'm seeing it from the people who are reporting it before they actually write it as a story. I follow some of the most influential reporters in New York City, especially here in Queens. And they follow me back because I know how to get their attention. It happened the other day at the town hall out there in South Ozone where I met the editor for Queens Eagle. Never met the man before in my life. I retweet his tweet. Sometimes every once in a while I throw a comment on there. He called me. He said, oh yeah, Michael Lambert, DEFCON 3. Anybody who follows me on Twitter knows that my hashtag DEFCON 3 is when I say the progressive left making moves against traditional progressives or traditional Democrats. That's throwing up the flare, say, hey, keep an eye on this. And as that progresses, as their numbers grow, as they get more active, anyone knows how a DEFCON scale works? It decreases. So when we got a DEFCON 1, the only thing after that is nuclear war. Keep that in mind. That's my own little personal nomenclature. But the editor of the Queens Eagle, David Brand, referred to me as DEFCON 3. I never knew David Brand even before the DA's race. Okay? Tweets with hashtags get 100% more engagement. We used to call that a pound sign when I was a kid. Now it's a hashtag. They use that to group ideas or thoughts on Twitter. So if I want to find out what's going on in Brooklyn, I type hashtag Brooklyn, click on it, and every tweet in my universe that has Brooklyn, it will pop up on my screen. I can sift through it, see if it's a user I want to follow or something that's going on in the neighborhood. You can get as specific as you want or as general as you want with that. Twitter users spend 26% more time with ads than other social media users. Now, what's alarming about that is that, remember I told you in the beginning, Facebook, the user rates dwarf Twitter, but more people are following ads on Twitter. And what I also told you is that Twitter is a place where politicians and politics is being discussed in mass quantity on this platform. It's supposed to be for everybody. People watch 2 billion videos on Twitter per day. You want to get somebody's attention on social media? Make a video crisp, clean, and short. That is why, no disrespect, that Charter 2019 video is dangerous. You tell me a second, and I had a debate with the people running the hand. I don't even know who that is. But I'm like, one, I didn't see a commercial on television. I think I saw the commercial on TV like the week of the election. And I told them, secondly, it's like your commercials aren't providing any information. You're just telling people they can vote on something. You're telling people nothing about what that something is. Now, this is where it gets even more dangerous, because all over my Twitter feed, it's no secret for anybody that follows me and know I battle with the progressive left on a regular basis. And they got a group that's trying to basically dismantle the structure of like what we have here. They think, Queens County Committee for All, the new reformers, right? A lot of them belong to the DSA, the Democratic Social of America. Someone will tell you outright they're socialists, right? And then they have DSA sympathizers in their group. And one of the debates I had with them, no respect to Congressmember Crowley, but when Greg Meeks first sat as the first black male chair of the Queens County organization, they put a letter in front of him with all these demands about what he needs to do to fix the organization. My thing is like, why'd you wait until Congressmember Meeks got there? And I get answers like, oh, well, you know, they endorsed the IDC, but we were working on it for a while. 20 years? Something's not right. But the other thing is, I went to one of their meetings. Kid you not, there's a dude wearing a pro-ranked choice voting t-shirt. When I saw the t-shirt, that's when I said something is wrong. Did any of you wear a vote no to ranked choice voting t-shirt? Did any of you ever see a vote no to ranked choice voting t-shirt? But their message on Twitter, and they made it simple. They didn't say just vote yes for ranked choice voting. They said, you know what, just vote yes all the way down the line. Just vote yes. And again, the thing that didn't make any sense about that, I'm going to like veer a little bit off topic. The council member talked about how many millions of dollars were spent on them buying informational campaign ads, glossy ads, and then they pushed that content out on Twitter with their Twitter army. So even if you weren't following them to basically be aligned, you kept seeing that. I worked as a big director for many, many years. Again, if you want someone to buy a product, you keep putting it in front of them. That's what they did with Twitter. After news and photo watching, video is the third reason people use Twitter. So the thing with news is this. I told you, I follow some of the most influential reporters in New York, especially here in Queens, because that's where I live. A lot of them are millennials. And what they do, a lot of them don't even really report news. They report their opinions. Yep. Ross Barkin, for example. And Danique knows this because some of these folks report directly out of City Hall. I'm not going to call no other names. Some of these people already know me. And if this video makes it to the internet, they're going to be, oh, here you go again. It's all good. But the thing is this, right? I've been able to do the same thing that Donald Trump has done. I've been able to change a reporter's tenor or the way he writes a story by dropping facts in front of him. Because quite often, what they say is not rooted in fact. It's rooted in their opinions. And quite often, if you start slapping out with facts, there's a little bit of a routine. They go back and forth. They try to battle you. They call in reinforcements. I had a big debate with the Bernie bros. Some of you that went to UFP saw that photo I passed around. Nothing but a sea of white faces in front of Queensbridge projects who could not get into the Bernie rally. Anybody who's lived there for any length of time knows that that crowd was not reflective of Queensbridge, unless you go back to the time before we were in Queensbridge. I had one dude from California say, oh yeah, I don't see any co-op projects in the background. Once you say that, bro, and they use pseudonyms, so you don't know where they're from, because they don't put their location. They say, yo, bro, you're not from here. And they're like, well, how's he know that? Who would call Queensbridge co-ops? So they put a lot of misinformation out there. So when you start slapping them back, then they get annoyed, then they block you. But there's ways around. Remember that hashtag thing I talked about? There's ways to get around the blocks. Remember right before the June 25th election, I was actually at Guy R. Brewer Club with Archie, and I think Manny, I think you were there. And I think it was Manny who said, oh, who's this guy Sean King? Why? Sean King is coming to St. Albans Park, and he's bringing 4,000 people. I can't remember if it was Roslyn, but there was somebody else, and we would say, well, if Sean King is coming to St. Albans Park with 4,000 people, he could do that, but they're not going to look like us. And he basically struck fear in people. Sean King did that to try and basically serve as a surrogate for Tiffany Caban. And Sean King is the same one who wants to compare himself to the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, he's from Brooklyn. No, brother, you're from Kentucky wherever you came from. You just got here. And the other thing, to call him out, tell me what schools you went to from public school or high school. Tell me what New York City school you went to. You want to really kind of like throw them off balance? Ask them questions you know they can't answer. Because the answers will expose the fact of what they truly are. Sean King blocked me after I started putting him, because rally like fizzled. Sean King started blocking me. So my most popular tweets, hashtag Sean King with clown faces. Sean King, to me, I was like impressed. My wife said, oh, Sean King was so-and-so. What? Let me go see. You've been blocked from viewing tweets from Sean King. I felt like, yo, I've arrived. The likes of Sean King has blocked me. So if you think I'm that important, you have to block me, maybe I'm doing something right. Next slide. Okay, so again, tweets with video get 10 times the engagement. 93% of the video views on Twitter happen on phone. Who here has their cell phone with them? Come on, who has their cell phone with them? Everybody. Okay, everyone has a cell phone. So what I want to do tonight, for whoever's interested, is to help everyone create Twitter accounts unless this goes completely left. 'Cause I know you have to like verify your email, and I don't know what the Wi-Fi signal is going to be like, et cetera, or the connectivity is going to be like. But if there's someone who doesn't have a Twitter account, if there's someone who does have one, if you can pair up to help walk that person through the process and creating a stream. Matter of fact, or maybe we should just create one. Maybe we should create one for Dougass-King. Do we have a Twitter account? But the only thing is we need like either an email account to track it back to or a phone number. That's not going to change. Because the reason I want to do this is not just to get you on Twitter and not even for you to start tweeting, but start following people and seeing what they're writing. There's a gentleman that I met through this entire DA's race. His name is Bright Lim. Very nice guy. One of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. Bright grew up down in Farland, New Jersey. He's an attorney. He graduated from Princeton Law. Bright actually holds a fundraiser for Tiffany Caban. Not a fundraiser, it was like a meet and greet. Another gentleman who I know from my economic development travels hosted it. So I reached out, I'm like, to the guy I know, like, why would you do that? All of a sudden, the responses start coming back from Bright. I have no idea who this guy is. This conversation goes back and forth. Somehow we determined that we're going to sit down and grab dinner. I'm a social guy. I actually met over the phone, and he wants to come here and talk about, and I want to talk to you about that too, education for right choice voting, because since it is the law, we need to be prepared. I met the director of right choice voting for the state of Tennessee via Twitter. And what riled him up that got him to actually call me was the op-ed that the council member wrote. Because I retweeted with my little DEFCON comments, dude was offended. Hey, can we have a conversation? So I was on the phone with the dude for an hour. Never talked to him, never met him before in my life. Can you get the councilman? No, that's his opinion. I agree with him. Want me to like get you to soften your tone? No, this is what we saw. And the thing is, you're in Tennessee. You didn't see what we just saw in June. You didn't see the guy that came up here on the strength of an email from Bernie Sanders from North Carolina. Some of y'all heard this story. And if you go on Twitter, because I met the dude. You came all the way up here for this? Yeah. When he talked to me, it was because he hated machines. Machines been like running the country for 40 years. I hate machines. When he talked to the reporter the next day and she dropped her story on Twitter, oh, I'm so happy to see this progressive movement taking foot in Queens. The guy became like the nicest person. He wanted to square up on me. So what did I do? I took my documentation, timestamp from the day before, and I dropped it right in the same thread where the reporter wrote the story. So if you want to get the balance, I'm going to give it to you, plainly and simply. And quite often, that stops nonsense. Because once people see that there's something there they can't refute, they fall back. They may block you, but blocking you is not always a good thing. Because you don't want to be talking to yourself. It's like going to a bar and you piss everybody off. You got to drink in the corner by yourself. No one really wants that. Unless you don't want to be around people. That's generally not me. So, who's game for creating Twitter accounts tonight? Because you don't have to tweet. And again, we can end this right here, and we could pick this up another time. But I think it's important, especially for our seniors and our elders, because the other thing I want to point out, right, they see division on ranks. That's why they're so quick to say, okay, boomer. Like I told James last week, the reason they're like that, their elders are not here. They're the ones here paying their own bills, paying their own rent, making their own decisions. And they think that gives them license to act and behave any which way they please. Now you're having FTP rallies, which are being announced and promoted on Twitter. Getting back to Bright, before I came here tonight, Bright sent out a tweet about a DSA general meeting. And the thing with Bright is very quiet and very unassuming. But when Bright talks, people listen. I forgot to tie up that part of the story. Say again?
How many followers does he have?
He only has like 2,000, but that's the thing with Twitter. Remember, if his followers are 2,000 that little box, guess how much he's actually reaching when he tweets? That bigger box. Because he has influence. The churl tweet the other day, within 24 hours, I had almost 40,000 views on that tweet. I don't even have 2,000 followers. It's about amplification. So I have dinner with Bright, nicest guy, wants to come out here and do a meet and greet with our young people. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't speak for the neighborhood, so we're going to have to talk about that. I go home that night. My wife goes to me, Michael, did you Google Bright before we met? No, for what? Turns out that Bright is a low-key shot caller for the Working Families Party and the DSA.
Exactly.
I didn't know that, but the thing is this, how many knew that name before I mentioned it tonight? Come on, some of y'all know the name. Bright Lim. He sits on the DSA Queens Advisory Board. Bright and I have a very cordial relationship. Our policies that we've all agreed to, we're going to have to agree to disagree. I'm less ignorant now because of Bright. Like one of the things they were pushing with Tiffany Caban, they went to decriminalize sex work. I don't think that's going to fly. I heard she came here and actually talked about, right? I'm not sure if that's like what we want to see in our neighborhood. So while if you want that in your neighborhood, I'll help you get it. Don't bring it to mine because I don't want to hear it. My people don't want to hear it. It's that simple. There's a new movement called No New Jails. How many people here are familiar with No New Jails? Okay. Some of you may know about the Close Rikers movement. How many here knows about the Close Rikers movement? Okay. The premise of No New Jails is to close Rikers and literally build no new jails. And when you ask them what they're going to do with real offenders, hardened criminals, I worked on Rikers for 7 years as a civilian. And while I'm not one to say let's lock all of our people up, some of the brothers I met unfortunately will tell you that they needed to be locked up because they know that if they get out, they would tell me, my job is to harm you and hurt your family. You can't put something like that in an art program. It's not going to work. And the troubling thing is right now, when you see some of these like more progressive policies coming up, I notice it's correlating with more increased violence in certain communities, not all of them. So they debate with me, oh, crime is down across the city. Kids are getting shot in our backyard right now, almost at the tune of at least once a week now. We ain't seen that since when? Something is wrong. But they want to dismantle the county organization, and they say they want to do it because they want more equality. You know what some of them tell me? We want to do this because I don't hear from my district leaders. We don't have club meetings. I can't get in touch with my elected officials. That's surprising. Look at this room. So what you want to, how many people went to New Orleans after the hurricane? So in New Orleans after the hurricane, if you went to the lower Ninth Ward, you saw the jack-o'-lantern effect, where the whole neighborhood was underwater, but miraculously, some houses were still habitable and others were a wreck. And so the landscape looked like the tooth structure of a jack-o'-lantern. This is the equivalent of somebody coming back to their devastated home in a jack-o'-lantern neighborhood and saying, you know what? Since my home is jacked up, we got to rip your house down too. Why? I can fix my house. But in their minds, oh no, we want more inclusivity. They want power. They want power, plain and simple. And they're coming for it. They make it no secret about it. They actually formed a PAC to raise $1.5 million to run district leader races. Never heard of that before. And they're talking about running district leader races in every single assembly district in the borough of Queens. So the thing is this, right? When you look at the voting numbers, over 80% generally are not voting. If they can get an army to come here from wherever, Tiffany Caban got checks from as far away as Mountain View, California for 40 grand for one person. Oh, we can't take PAC money, can't take real estate money, but you'll take the money from the wife of the Netflix CEO. That money must be better money, right? You hate billionaires, you want to get rid of billionaires, but you'll have billionaires funding that whole ranked choice voting initiative to vote, to get you to vote yes. When Danique called me, that wasn't until Danique called me. Danique said, yo, this is a guy, was it Anderson? This is an Enron billionaire. How many here remember Enron? So Enron's a company that basically cost people their life savings. And this guy's a billionaire, and he's funding this initiative. But the progressive, you look at who's endorsing it, are the same people saying we shouldn't have billionaires. Something is wrong. It's okay for you to take the billionaire's money to fuel this, but when you think it suits you, we shouldn't have billions. Something is wrong. So pretty much that's all I wanted to say. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I know there's a few folks in here who are active in the space, who know exactly what I'm talking about. But I think that basically what we need to do is to really start to make sure that we are educating ourselves at the same rate that they are. Because apart from even the billionaire money, they were throwing tweets left and right. Just vote yes down the line. Just vote yes. I don't know what to do. What should I do? Just vote yes down the line.